call the December 17th, oh, yes, no, sounds like we're on.
Well, the lights are on, the recorder's on.
Okay, we will call the December 17th, 2014 meeting of the Redevelopment Commission to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Vieta, please take roll.
Shannon LaFleur,
Here.
Rick Fayette,
Here.
Adam Wenzel,
Here.
Daryl Foley, absent.
He is absent.
Diane McKenzie is present. David Weigel,
Did everybody get an opportunity to review the November minutes? Any additions, deletion, corrections?
Actually, if I may, I need to make a correction to the minutes. I actually made a procedural error during the last meeting. You had a tie vote, and Shannon, you were actually the tying vote. And then I told you to go ahead and break the tie, which was improper under the Robert's Rules of Procedures. You can't vote twice. So you would have been authorized to break the tie if you had also voted for the tie. Ultimately, it led to nothing because of the way that it fell out. No action was taken, it was still tabled. But it was a procedural error on my part. So if the record could just reflect that I made a note that I made a mistake.
a procedural error. Also, we need to amend because I had,
We need to put a,
did not put in that that Mr. Fayette had voted nay. Is that correct?
yeah, I voted nay for the extension, 15 days.
Right.
So it was, the motion passed, but there was a dissenter. Since I said so little, I wanted to make it part of the record.
Right. Anything other than that? Okay, so do we then need to wait until next month to approve those, or can we just
No, I would say
approve
you
them
could,
contingent upon those changes being made?
yeah, you could move to accept them as amended.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we move to accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, there we go. Okay, Veterans Way project updates. Phase 1, how are they doing on construction?
They are moving forward. They are, have 3 pipe crews out there doing sanitary sewer, water main, and storm sewers. And they are about finished with the pond. It's pretty close, isn't it?
Their crew didn't work today or yesterday. Water lines in, sewer lines into Moscow Road. Storm will be in tomorrow sometime. So they've pretty much got everything all the way to the Moscow Road.
And they're working on the lift station also.
Lift station, the barrels inside.
So, and they've already lime stabilized that subgrade all the way up to Moscow Road.
Good.
And the poles that are in the way at Moscow Road that are Duke's poles should be moved by January 9th, so they can continue trying to do earthwork on the east side of the project.
We don't know anything, nothing so far on that subgrade change order yet. Still, that's kind of up in the air as to,
I told them when we talked about the pay estimate, because we've been pushing this timeline because of the meetings, wait till after the first of the year,
Okay.
when we get back on a normal schedule, and we get it on the 15th, we've got some time.
Time to go through
We will come in
and,
with change order one and explain each and every one of them.
okay,
I didn't email you the change orders to date.
Yes.
Yes, I can go get it. The only thing we added this month from what it was last month, we had one additional fitting on the 12-inch water main. So it's still, I don't know, it's like 1.13% of total project. It's really 50,000, 60,000, and we didn't have anything this month.
okay.
So there's 2 change items.
There's been about 6 to date, but none of them have been billed, and none of them have been done as an official change order to the project, to the contract.
So what you're planning on is in January, when we've got some time, then you'll come in and you'll give us a list and,
But, you know, they cut it off on the 15th, and
Right.
we just go like crazy trying to get everything done for you guys in a couple of
to
days.
get
So
the,
next month, we'll have them,
Okay.
so we'll get the change orders officially.
and we can have a summary next month of change orders and so we can know what's going on there. Okay. All right.
They're really not change orders as much as quantity.
Quantity adjustments.
Quantity.
You guys conduct me, I'll go get it for you. They're in a spreadsheet, I can have them back to podcast.
Okay. Well, let's then, anybody else have any questions on the progress? I mean, he can fill us in on those quantity adjustments when I guess when he gets in here, but, phase 1, right-of-way acquisition. We had an executive meeting to discuss some things, about that, so I assume we need to make a motion, to move forward with that.
I'll make a motion to authorize Christine to negotiate with Park and Ryan and discuss in the executive session.
Is there a second?
Also.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Chris, move forward with the negotiations and,
Good luck.
well, what did we set, 48 hours? Okay. Sounds good. All right, we do have, a change order regarding that drainage, down
Yes.
421. And I guess we've talked to, it's not really a change order, it'd be a,
It is a change order because it was not part of the original scope of the project.
so it would be, so we can actually put it in with this. If they do the work, it is a change order. All right.
But when I first got the quote that we'd been waiting on for a long time, I sent it out to you before I got to review it in its full detail, and it did not have any material, which the ditch should probably have a geotextile fabric put at the bottom and riprap. So they had no material in there. So they sent me an email to add $7,700 to that for the riprap and the geofabric. To the 29. And we thought that was high, and that is a lump sum. What they're proposing is a lump sum. We went to Poindexter Excavating in Indianapolis, who has done some work for the city, and asked them to quote it just to keep O'Mara
Yeah.
honest. And they did a time and material not to exceed $36,425 versus
So
$36,886 for the other one, but theirs is time and material not to exceed. So if they don't spend as much time doing the ditch work, they will not bill us for that. So our recommendation would be to actually enter into a contract with Poindexter to do the ditch work.
Well, it doesn't appear that these guys really want to do it. Based on length of time they put in to give.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, they've got everything already out there and,
You know, you would think that they would be the most cost favorable.
You would think so, but that's the problem when you bid something publicly. They know what they left on the table. They left $120,000 on the table when they got the project because they were the low bid. So anytime you do a change order, they
Right.
try to
Now, so that would be, if we used O'Mara, it'd be a change order, their contract. With Poindexter, it'd be a separate contract.
Yes.
Now, that's what I was
Yes.
getting to initially,
Yeah.
so,
And you're recommending that we do the 36,425?
Yes.
because that's time versus the lump where regardless if they spend it or not, they're getting the 36,886.
Right. Yeah. It shouldn't take 40 hours to
They
clean up.
provide you with, well,
They did.
Poindexter.
They did. It's right here.
And the city has used them before and been happy
Yes,
with
they,
their work.
they did the, all the work for the Gas Creek project.
Oh, okay.
So,
So what do we need to do here, Mr. Stevens?
Well, you technically had multiple bids, so I would just move to approve the one you want to use.
Based upon Gary's recommendation.
I'll make a motion that, based on Gary's recommendation, that we go ahead and use Poindexter.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. They have any you kind of have a time frame on that? I mean, are you planning on initiating that before the spring?
Yes,
or
we want to clear it out
before
before
it
the spring.
starts raining and wet? So now would be a time, providing we don't get crazy snow.
Well, and they would like it to actually be frozen when they do it,
It's easier for them to move the, okay.
so.
Can I have a copy of that? Poindexter.
So you'll take care of getting in touch with them and
Yes.
getting them rocking and rolling? Okay, sounds good. Project 2. Did Board of Public Works get the contract with American Structure Point signed?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that's been
It's
taken
been
care of.
signed, it's been returned to NDOT, they're okay with it. We are in a hurry up and wait mode because they can't apply for funding until July 1st. Anything that we try to undertake before then, we're responsible for 100% of. So we're a little ahead of the game by having a consultant chosen so quickly and ready to go, so.
All right.
So hurry up and wait until the first.
We don't need to worry about right now.
No.
Well, have you talked to the engineer as far as, I mean, as soon as NDOT officially approves their contract, they could initially get started on some of the layout of the easement and things like that.
That's
If-
what I asked.
We,
I said, if
So-
it's truly if it's a reimbursement,
right, that's what my
Program.
question is. If they're gonna
I s-
reimburse it,
why can't you spend money now and then apply for reimbursement?
yeah.
In July?
And they said there's no guarantee come July, we have to wait till we have.
Yeah,
So if we expended anything, it's 100% out of our pocket.
right. But, I don't know, whether you do the survey, your 20% is still gonna be your 20%.
Right.
But see, I don't think they allow you to use whatever you expend before July 1st as part of your 20%. Is the way they made it sound.
Maybe
So I did talk to the engineers last Friday and they were gonna double check that.
yeah, because it would be really good if we could get that engineer
If we can
in those winter
start,
months, working on those easements and figuring out,
if we can
laying
do the
that all out.
survey and we can get that environmental
Yeah.
started.
Exactly, because that stuff takes some time.
Right.
All right,
And then to finalize the right of way and then we can, the right of way negotiations, so.
all right.
We're gonna still exceed the 20%. Are we not?
What?
Well, we shouldn't,
You shouldn't. It's an 80-20 project.
yeah.
Right, but I'm saying that we're gonna spend more than the 20% in reality anyway. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that if we were to pay to go ahead and get the engineering started, we're still gonna have 20%, enough to match later on without that.
No, it's a 80-20
From the start.
Well,
It's
he's
the
saying we can't count anything before. What I'm saying is if we got engineering of $200,000 or something like that, we're still gonna have incur enough expense without that amount to match.
Right,
But they don't-
but if they would,
Until
if
they
we wait
give
till
you
we
the
get
go-ahead.
their official okay, they'd pick up 80% of that 200.
from then on.
Correct, but from our perspective, are we wiser to go ahead and get the work started because we are still going to incur enough expenses to meet the 20% match without that?
Where's it best to check with the engineers and see if it's?
I've got them double checking with
Yeah.
the district, so.
Because it sounds like we might behoove us to go ahead and get started on the engineering, even if we have to pay that without a match, is
It
what I'm
could
getting
be, I mean, there could be some advantage to it, but at the same time, I know when we start working with NDOT, they're gonna drag it out. So if we're 6 months behind, I would rather wait 6 months than us incur 100% of the 200
Right.
versus only incurring 40,000 of that.
Right.
And because 6 months,
Which we
in
might be able to
NDOT's,
sort.
when it was in our world, when we were driving the project, we definitely want, but when we're starting to deal with the federal funds, it's a lengthy process anyway. 6 months is kind of a blink of the eye in NDOT's. But let's try to convince them to let us to do it.
Okay. We need to try to clear the archaeological on them.
Yeah, because that would be awesome if we could get that environmental stuff, January to June, get that done, get the easements laid out.
So
So-
what are you gonna do? You're gonna check with them, or
We'll double check to see
Yeah.
if
if we can start environmental stuff?
if we can start
Possibly
some
work on
preliminary work
The
and have
preliminary,
it still count toward,
our
20%.
20%.
Just have them do it and not bill us until after July.
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking too. Well, you know what? A lot of times engineers will do that. They will waive fees until such time, but I guess it depends upon when the work was actually completed. But we'll talk to NDOT first. Let's try to get our green light there, and then we'll cross the bridge maybe in January to figure out what we gotta do.
yeah, we'll have a quarterly meeting with NDOT and we can double check face to face versus emails
Yeah,
and some other
and then if we can know January, February, hopefully we could get a green light, and we could move forward with getting that stuff done.
Right.
Okay, anything else on Veterans Way, 1 or 2, any questions, anyone? All right, let's go on down to, last month, we posed the question to the board about the fact that Gary, Murray, and Mark Fostercamp are both putting in about 10 hours apiece per week on the project, which is pulling them away from their normal, regular activities. And so, together, we kind of calculated that out, that roughly equates to $46,500 for both of their time, that's both combined.
That's on average 10. During the winter, it may be less.
Right.
Maybe during the summer, it may be considerably more. We just try to.
We
They're
kinda-
planning on doing, pipe work all winter
Right.
long, so.
So, it wasn't that 46,500 would be additional to the salary. It would be basically, right now, I think the utility departments pay a portion of the salary, general fund pays a portion of the salary. So those funds are the ones that are paying it, but
Right.
what we would be doing, instead of it being split 3 ways, it'd be split 4 ways, with redevelopment picking up a quarter of their salary for 2015. I guess it'd be just kind of,
When it was done on Lincoln Street, I would track my time daily and I would submit
right,
every 6 months or something, and we would give the bill, and redevelopment commission would pay the city for that.
Right,
We can do the same thing now, all we're looking at is a not to exceed amount.
Right.
that's right, that's what we're looking at, is a not to exceed of the 46.5.
You know, because the utilities are actually getting a pretty good deal with this project. I mean, they're getting installation of water lines and sewer lines and stuff that's gonna generate revenue for them once anything gets developed, so, and they're getting it for virtually no expense, so
But
I.
they are picking up a portion of the overall contract.
For some of the water.
Yeah,
I just think that 46.5 is a fair not to exceed amount, and then you guys can turn it in like you did for Lincoln Street, and just
Just
go
pay.
ahead and pay. And if you put in too many hours,
then we'll see where we're at. But I know last month that was kinda maybe not explained completely and, but, hopefully everybody's had a little bit more time to,
Exactly, and that's what we were asking for.
yeah.
well, it appears as though somebody thought that was gonna be something they were getting in addition to.
I think that was the
salary.
confusion.
And that wasn't the intent.
And,
Yeah.
I wanna say,
Right.
really from the standpoint last month, I mean, when I know Daryl had asked for more time and then I turned around and voted, that was a faux pas on my part. The asking for more time seemed, reasonable. I just saw that there was a lot on the agenda that night that was probably gonna get tabled and wanted to move forward, but I think we've got the information, and I apologize for that, so I think we've got the information now. Any questions, any more discussion on that, or can we move forward?
Shannon, can I add something?
Sure.
Gary, if we had to hire an inspection consultant for this phase one, what would the approximate cost of an inspection consultant be?
It's
$500,000.
8%,
So
$8%, right,
$46,000 is really a deal, because the city's paying
right.
utilities.
Yeah,
paying
you're exactly right, but one of the reasons why we took this project on and funded ourselves was to save money, so that's what we're
Exactly,
looking at.
exactly.
you know.
What I'm saying is I don't want to see anybody shorted and have to pay a lot more, because, I know this guy here spends work on Saturdays, taking care of things, and during weekdays as well. He knows short things up for you.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that both Gary and Mark are doing a great job on this project, and they are saving the redevelopment commission, the city, a lot of money by doing that, and I do think that since we are pulling them away from some of their other responsibilities for the community, that a quarter of that with a not to exceed seems reasonable. All right.
You need a motion.
Yes, we do. We need a motion if there's no more discussion on that. Is anyone willing to make the motion to do the not to exceed 46.5 to cover the salaries?
I'll make a motion that we utilize TIF funds not to exceed 46.5 to cover a portion of Gary Murray and Mark Klosterkamper's 2015 salaries.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, there we go. Okay, last month we also discussed, remaining items on the TIF project listing. There were 3 projects that were outstanding, and we were basically discussing them from a cash flow standpoint to see whether or not we could, continue to do this project, pay the loan back, blah, blah, blah. There was a lot going on there. I had talked after the meeting, I took the liberty to talk with the bank to find out flexibility on the reimbursables, and also possibly if there was funding left at the end of the Veterans Way, if that could be applied to the Moscow Road. The bank indicated that that was probably a real good possibility. I know then the mayor also, just as a double check, he went to and talked with and Jason had indicated the same, and that Jason also talked with, Rick Hall at Barnes and Thornburg about the reimbursables, if we were gonna get any of those reimbursables back, if it was a timely. State Board of Accounts has that year window, but apparently, under the law, we actually had 18 months after Veterans Way is completed that we could seek reimbursables for money out of pocket.
That phase one.
Right, phase one, after the phase one's completed. But in actuality, if we could utilize money remaining on the loan and we decided to move forward with the Moscow Road project, we wouldn't need any of the money that we've expended reimbursed because we have enough cash flow to do the two smaller projects remaining on the list. So I think at this point, it may be somewhat of a moot issue. I mean, if we don't need it back and we could potentially use the money left on the loan to do Moscow at a later date, and also we got 18 months to seek reimbursement, I guess we can wait till then.
I have one question. I used to get this construction fund detail report from the clerk treasurer's office. And the last one I got was dated 4/30. And I'm not finding the information that's on this on any of the other spreadsheets that I'm getting now. So I don't know if it's my place to contact the clerk treasurer or what, but it's very nice to have this number
Right
here going into the meeting. I haven't seen that, and I don't know why she stopped sending them. I got them for several months when I first got on the board, and then suddenly they stopped coming. I have been able to balance a checkbook for 40 years, so this was readable to me. I mean, I could really clearly understand the money going in and the money going out each month. And I don't, like I said, I don't know why she stopped sending it, but I would like to
Well, I think we can get
get
those
her
back,
to-
that's not a
get her to
problem,
send
no.
that to us, so that I'd like to actually get it from 4/30/14 through 12/31/14. So I have the whole year's worth, because I've got the ones I've got here.
12/31/13 through 12.
Well, this one here is.
That was in April.
It started 12/11/13 and ran all the way through 4/30/14, and that was the last I got one. You can have this one, show it to her. She was sending it every month. This is what she sent us 1 month before the meeting, this is what she sent us another month before the meeting, and each month before the meeting, I knew exactly what money was in that Fund 802.
Well, 802 is that spreadsheet that she passed out right here, that's in our general operating.
Well, we're not getting that though either. I don't believe any of us are. I have
She leaves them in the
It's right here.
packet, yeah, she gives them to us in the packet,
well, in the packet tonight.
yeah.
Oh, she was
And so-
emailing it all before, so. That was.
So that's in 802. Right now, the fund in 803, that's the construction fund, that money comes in and goes right out to pay the bills. So there's a zero balance in 803 right now.
And I guess my question would be, can she email these to us again?
Yes.
Since they come in the packet, I haven't had time to look at it. I
Yeah.
have to be able to look at stuff and wrap my mind around it, or.
So right now in our operating, our balance is the 810,000 is what we've got in operating right now. Now, I don't know if that was with, and it does not appear just, that's, we should be getting another, disbursement of funds by the end of this month of about 400,000. So by the end of this month, we should have 1.2 in the operating.
So we're just gonna continue to pay out of the operating until we need to?
Well, that's, I think what we need to discuss is, and Daryl had mentioned this, is that Rick had brought up the point that if we have the money in our funds to pay, then what's the purpose of borrowing the funds to pay the bills, which seemed to make sense to everyone. But at some point in time, but I do, and I don't have any problem with that, but I do think that we maybe need to set a point that we're not going to let our operating fund sink past a certain amount. Because although years past, there's been years that the Redevelopment Commission only spent $15,000, you know? But there, if we want to consider those smaller two projects and maybe some marketing expenses to help us with the development of the property out there, that would come out of our operating fund, and so I don't think we want to completely drain it.
Well, my question is, what's the procedure for the bond draw? I mean, is that a phone call?
It's basically, we just have to, this paperwork that I provide you every month, that's what we have to send to them and say, we need X amount of dollars, and then they wire transfer it into that fund
So how
that
long-
day,
I guess the question is, how long does that actually take, that process? I mean,
48 hours.
so we're 48 hours away from any amount of money that we need at any given point in time after our meeting. So if we approve
Well,
payment,
Yeah, so.
if we approve payment of invoices tonight, then that could be sent to them tomorrow, and they could transfer the money into 802.
It would be transferred into 803.
They transferred it to 803, and then we can spend it. So I'm kind of lost on the need to have a real balance, or, you know, at least an extravagant one. I mean, because what I'm seeing for our general expenses is Vieta and Chris every month, right now, that would come out of 802. Everything else should be coming out of 803.
Right.
So,
But
You
what
know-
we're doing is when we're taking money, when we approve our claims every month, and like tonight, we've got, it looks like about $550,000. We've got in 802, the operating, we've got 810,000. We've got $550,000 worth of claims to approve tonight. So basically what she would do is she'd take 550,000 out of 802, transfer it into 803, and then she pays the bills. Then that leaves us about 300,000 in operating. But my thing is that if we have a month where, let's say, we'd have 300,000, and then we're getting the 4, so that's, starting in January, we'd have 700,000. Bills are 700,000 that month in January. We take it all out and transfer it to 803, that leaves us nothing in there. So I think we need to have, we'll transfer money out of 802 to $150,000.
January, we can go ahead and agree to draw 700,000, and then.
Well, that's the thing though,
Every month we're doing this, we're approving claims,
we are,
and we can draw every single month if we need to. So we would never really be technically at zero except for 48 hours until the wire transfer went in.
Well, I would say this though, I don't think you can, if you're gonna try and classify that time-wise, I think you would have to say, you have to factor in the time for having a meeting. So if you have your meeting and you have plenty of money in there and you've drained your account, and then something happens before your next regularly scheduled meeting, it's not a 48-hour turnaround, it's really a 4-day turnaround. Because the minimum you could have a special meeting is 2 days' notice. So you have 2 days' notice, then you have your special meeting, it's your special meeting, you approve it, and then you have 48 hours to get it there. I think with
That's
Shannon,
gonna happen anytime. I mean, if we have $500,000 in there, and we have a $600,000 unexpected event, you've got the same scenario.
right, I'm just saying, I don't think you
So you
can
can't
factor
avoid
in
the
straight.
scenario, no matter how much money you leave in 802, is all I'm saying. You can't avoid that, your scenario,
Right.
no matter how much money, because you could always have an event that was greater than the amount of money you have on hand that would require a draw. We
Right.
don't have to have
I'm just saying your time factor, when you're analyzing your time
even if
factor.
you said
as
it's a
we-
week,
Yeah.
but we have our meeting, okay, and then they transfer the money and then they pay the invoices. I mean, we've got it set up to where, I mean, I don't know what minimum you wanna have that you feel is safe, but,
I think we should take the cost of what the projects that are remaining on the list are.
The two, because the Moscow Road one was like $2 million. The other two together were like 250, 300,000.
We always know our invoices, I mean, we set it up to know about a week ahead anytime, so if we can foresee that, we could have a special meeting before our regular meeting.
Well, what we're gonna end up doing is if we keep paying just because we've got the money in 802, we pay, we have $50,000 in there, then we decide that we wanna do some sort of marketing out there, and that's gonna cost us $75,000, and we haven't got our June disbursement back, then we're gonna be looking at reimbursing 802.
or spending less than 70,000.
I mean, my whole thing is like, it's just, I appreciate the fact that you don't wanna borrow money if we don't need to, and we don't wanna pay interest on it. But at the same time, I don't wanna look at it in a tunnel that there's nothing else out there that could happen. I mean, that's why we borrowed the money, we've got a great interest rate, and from transferring from 802 and then transferring back into 802, I just think it's gonna raise red flags when they come to do an audit. So I think that we can pay bills out of here until we reach
$300,000.
$300,000, and then from that standpoint, we go to the loan.
We're gonna see that tonight though, right? We'll be below 300.
We would be, if we pay them and we don't. So I mean, we
We
could,
will be until we get the next.
Disbursement.
right, which will be by the end of this month,
Be before the end of the month.
yeah.
Need a motion?
Well, any other discussion on it? I mean,
I guess the only question is if we're gonna make a motion that we don't go below 300, but yet then we're gonna turn around later in the meeting and go below 300, even though money's coming in, we're still going below until money is coming in. So we're making.
No, she can go ahead and apply for a draw for whatever
the difference
the
is.
difference is.
Okay, so go ahead and do a draw too right now.
So it would be that we would pay, so we've got 810 in there, and we got $550,000 worth. I just take that down to 300, and then anything over and above, we would come from the loan.
Shannon,
Yeah,
what'd be wrong with having a range to go by if you didn't have to?
Have it.
Go through that process, as long as you have a range. $300,000, make it 200, 300.
Yeah, it don't fall below 200, and it don't go above 300. That way you're always in that range.
That's true.
Because if you have to have money, you're only 2 days.
Right.
from getting
More
it.
days you have.
4 days.
well. Okay, so we have a range, no less than 2, and this is getting really confusing.
What's the range
This is
between-
getting very confusing. I mean, that's why I'm like,
You can have more than three.
I'm all about just pay the interest and borrow the loan, but I know that you collect, that you aren't, so.
Money that goes into, go towards the next project.
That can do what?
I hate to see money go to the bank for interest, go towards the next project. In other words, every dollar you pay in interest is a dollar you take away from the project. That makes sense.
Does to some, yes,
Like
I mean,
Grace
it
Farm,
does.
every dollar you pay the bank for interest
Right.
is $1 that don't go towards Moscow Road or the other two projects, it goes to the bank. So I think whenever you can avoid that, you're getting more money towards the project.
I
Well,
would say just make it 200,000 and fits in our unique situation now. We can change it next month if we want to. I mean, this is static. You know, we're not.
because it seems at the tail end of the project, we've got flexibility to get reimbursed, or we've got flexibility to move forward with the Moscow
As
Road
long as
project.
we-
I'll make a motion that we draw on the operating expense account in 802, until it reaches 200,000.
Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion passes 2-1.
Yeah. I didn't have, I said that there's a possible. So, yes. O'Mara came in yesterday at 4 o'clock and this went out before that. Okay. So that kind of clears that up. So, and then I will ask Bridget to get those construction funds, like the checkbook, that you can see the entries that are going in and out, so that we have those at all meetings in the future.
You just email them.
Yeah. Okay. Probably email them to whoever the board president is and then have them go out. Okay, so we do have claims here. We had, the regular claims, for the month was, let's see, I got that I gave you. I wanna make sure. My papers are getting out of whack. Okay, the regular claims for the month actually total 200, that was on this paper that I gave you that came out, email with we have 2 regular of 802 operating claims, Stephen Lee Group and Vietas. And then we had the 4 claims for the project fund in 803, plus the O'Mara that came out the other day, which was in the total amount of $530,328.73. $530,328.73. We have a motion to approve the claims as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll get those, I'll get that signed and we'll get.
533, 372.19. That's what everybody else comes up with.
You added it together, 533, 372, 19. which that can all come out of 802 because we still have 200,000 in there. So all these claims this month will be out of 802. All right. Now, I didn't know if we needed to do this, but because I'm not really, since this is the first full year that I've been on, how often, is it a yearly thing that we do nomination and election of officers on the board? Okay. Okay, so we do need to do nomination and election of officers.
You do first meeting in January.
They do it in January, and then they swear in February. What, that same
Swear in
night?
the same meeting.
Okay, all right, so then that'll be moved to January's. Then let's see here. We need to get our, meeting dates confirmed for 2015. Does the fourth Wednesday of the month still work with everyone? I have, here's the dates, I printed them out for,
There is always a fourth,
yeah.
isn't there?
And then it would be November and December. The fourth Wednesday falls on the eves of the holidays, so we moved them to the third.
Works for me.
Those dates then, I guess then we need,
Not the plan.
we'll need them,
I have nothing else planned that deep in 2015, so.
do we need them?
Yeah.
We kind of had made a motion at that earlier, but let's make a motion to leave it on the fourth Wednesday.
I'll make a motion that we leave the TIF meetings the fourth Wednesday of each month, except for November and December of 2015, where it will be the third Wednesday of the month.
I'll approve the calendar as
There you go. So you're gonna, Rick, that's kind of a second there then, all right. All in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, anything else we need to discuss? Can I have a meeting, motion to adjourn?
So,
Second?
that.
All in favor?
aye.
Okay.